Hello guys, today I'm going to show you how to make a gurgler fly like this one. These are for both fresh and saltwater, and I like using them for largemouth and smallmouth. And people also use them for pike. What you're going to need is some body. For today's purposes, we're using crystal chenille. You're going to need some line. I recommend heavier than 15 pounds, just any line, it could be old. We're using size 4 streamer hooks today. You can make these in any size you want though. You're going to need some crystal flash to match your color. You're going to need bucktail and colored bucktail or colored deer hair to match your colored foam. You're going to need a 1/2 inch foam strip, and you're going to need some kind of super glue. And we're using green thread today, because I'm making a green one. You're going to start about 3/4 down your hook shank. And just wrap it to halfway down. You don't need that much of a base yet. Cut off the tag. Then you take your line. Today I'm using 20-pound mono, because that's just some old line I have. I would recommend over 15-pound though, so it's strong. You're going to take it and double it over to make a loop. And you're going to put it a little bit past the back, like about 1/2 inch of the loop should be past the back of the hook. You're going to tie this mount to the top of the hook, making sure that it's straight. And then I take these parts and double them back to give it extra strength. You really want this on there strong. Then you're going to take these two tags, snip them off. That gives you a nice base for the fly. What this does is it supports the bucktail, and you could also make a tandem fly rig out of it. You tie a leader to this, and you could put it down to a nymph or another fly of your choice. Next, you're going to take your bucktail, and you're going to take the white part of it, and you're going to want really thin strip like this. You're just going to snip it off. Then you're going to cut your butts off at an angle. You're going to take this, and you don't want it too far past the back. I'm actually going to shorten this up a little bit. And you want it about a hook's length still. And just tie it in. Tie this in really secure, because that bucktail does come out. Then you're going to take your flash, your crystal flash, you're going to wrap it around your bobbin. Make sure it's nice and even, and tie that in. That gives it some nice flash. Then you're going to take your colored deer hair and again just snip another small bit off. You really don't want that much. About that much. Snip it off. And then again you're going to cut the butts at an angle. And you're going to want to tie that on so it's kind of even with the bucktail. Make it as even as you can. So I'm going to have to, since this is short, I'm going to have to go farther back on the fly to get it nice and even with that bucktail. And you're still going to want to tie this in super secure also. Okay, what I'm doing isn't good. You don't want to trim your bucktail, but you could see I have way too much more bucktail than the deer hair, so I'm going to trim it down just a little bit. You really don't want to trim your bucktail, but if you have to, you have to. Then you tie this on to make it nice and straight. Then you want to bring your thread back to the front of the hook. You want to make a kind of a base there. And then you take your foam strip and you're going to cut it at a taper. You're going to taper it about an inch down. You're going to cut it to a point. This makes it easier to tie it on. You're going to put that right about really close to the tip, but not right on it. And you're going to tie that in. Start with slower wraps. This is going to take a while. You want to keep repositioning it so it's straight on top of the hook. I tied down and back a few times just to make it really even and secure. And you're going to want to tie it right to as far back as your thread goes on the bottom, so about good. Want to make sure that's even. And then you take your body, which is going to be crystal chenille. You're going to tie that in just around the tip. Then you're going to bring your thread back to the front of the hook. You're going to wrap your body. You just wrap it around like this. Don't be afraid to use a lot of this chenille. It makes a nice thick body. The thicker the better. Make it as thick as you can. Then just wrap that around the chenille and snip it off. Then you're going to tie a few times, secure that chenille down, and there you have your body. Next you're going to fold the foam up from the back, and you're going to want to tie it right where you are. Here's a very important part. Your thread, you want to make it as straight across as possible when you tie it down like that. And you want to keep adjusting as you go. Make sure it's very straight. And then you fold it back and tie under so you could support it. I like supporting it a lot so it stands nice, stands up, and it kind of makes like a popper style lip. Then you're gonna, from this front part, you're gonna cut it off leaving about a ½ inch for a nice head. We'll shape that later. Oops. From the cutoff material, you're gonna take off about a ¼ inch. Make a really small piece, like this. You're gonna center this right where your line wraps or tie is. You're gonna just tie it down nice and firm so it's standing up. You're gonna want to center everything. And once that's on there nice and firm, and it's kind of standing up like that, and everything's centered, you go back to the bottom, tie it some more. I like tying it a ton right here to make a nice head, and then that will help it stand up a lot more. Then you could whip finish. I don't have a whip finish tool, so I just tie a knot. Oops. A few knots, and then some super glue always works good. Here, I'll show you how to shape the head. I like making a rounder shape like this for a head. So what you're gonna do is just take it, your scissors, and just round it off to make a nice lip, and there your head's good. I'll put this back in the vise for now. What you're going to do next is take your super glue and glue it right under the support foam. Just use a little bit. And then you hold it together to the support foam to keep the lip up. Once the front part dries, you're going to take it and glue it behind the back support foam. Do the same thing, just hold it down until it dries. Should take about a minute. Once the glue dries, your lure will be finished. Creates a nice and sturdy lip, and that will create a lot of surface disruption when you're stripping the line in to work this lure. There's a lot of variations of this lure. You could add legs under the support foam or before you tie up the body. Ouch. Thank you for watching. Please comment, rate, and subscribe.